call, retone that, please. 10-4. Gathersburg, be going to that one.
First on Fox, a plane lands just yards from a Lee Summit home.
Yeah, the woman who lives there is thankful that it wasn't any worse. Fox 4's Megan Diller joins us live after speaking with the woman who could see the plane from her house.
That's right. It not only landed, but it crashed, and we're standing in someone's backyard trying to give you at home a closer look at the wreckage. That, police say, it crashed here on the eastern edge of Legacy Park shortly before 6. She says she and her husband often hear planes overhead because Lee Summit Airport is 4 miles from here. They didn't hear this plane, but they did hear sirens.
It's kind of scary thinking how close it is to our homes. It's kind of scary thinking how close it is to our homes.
Police say the 6-seater Cessna crashed shortly before 6. We checked a flight tracker website using the tail number on the plane, and it says that it left Jacksonville, Florida earlier today. No word on the final destination. Police here from Lee Summit out here on scene. They'll stay here tonight until investigators from the FAA can get out here to the scene tomorrow.
Go ahead.
It's a lady at 46 South Road. 46 South Road.
Station 1 call, retone that, please. 10-4. Gathersburg, be going to that location also. This is 1-9, is that correct?
Sorry, one last four?
4 miles, retone there. Go ahead.
Oh, look, another one. Right over the house. And then look at this, same time. I mean, that's 30 seconds apart. That's so much. That's what I hope you see.
Right here, and there's a narrow gash going through that roof, a very narrow gash going through the roof and into what appears to be a bedroom. The main part of the fuselage is rested up against the second house, with the tail of the airplane actually at the front door of that house. And then finally, it appears that one of the wings was catapulted over into the third house, where the majority of the fire damage occurred. So
about an hour and a half ago, investigators found 3 bodies on the second floor of the home. It was an adult female and 2 young children. I believe it is the woman who lived there and her 2 of her children, a 3-year-old and an infant.
Do you have any information when your mother was on the TV and so it was quite young?
Could have been, we told us that the child was a month and a half old, or the younger child was a month and a half old. The older one was 3 years old.
Who died in this crash has not yet been identified. The NTSB says he left from Florida, stopped in Tennessee, but never made it to his destination in Wisconsin.
holy crap.
Cell phone video shows the fiery aftermath of a small plane crash in southwest suburban Plainfield.
I heard a loud boom. It sounded like a bomb went off.
Brandon Fearday heard the crash and rushed outside.
There was just flames in the street. There was flames everywhere. There was just black smoke in the air.
Into a house. At least 6 people killed, everyone on board, and now we learn members of a young family inside the home at the time. You can see the remains of the plane there, right in the front yard, and in the backyard, just about everything there left untouched. And just look at the home next door, the left side completely gone, a charred mess. Tonight here, we hear the pilot radioing in when things go wrong, and another pilot witnessing it all. ABC's David Curley is on the scene.
Mid-morning and out of nowhere, a small jet slams into this middle-class neighborhood.
Did anybody see people come out?
Gathersburg, Maryland fire crews race to the scene.
Plane into a house, reported 3 people in the house.
Then suddenly, a second explosion. Those here say the jet's engines didn't sound right.
Flying erratically, left, right, up, down. Seemed like there was some sort of struggle to maintain control of the aircraft.
The 3 people on board the small jet killed. And with the fire out in the house on the second floor, 3 others. A mother, her 3-year-old, and an infant also killed. The jet broke into 2, a wing flying toward that third house.
The wing, which contains fuel, did end up in that third house where most of the fire damage has occurred.
The problems for the jet happened quickly. The pilot had just radioed that he was ready to land.
100 extra Quebec is now 3 out straight in, 1 4.
Another pilot was watching the Embraer Air jet, also known as a Phenom.
Hey guys, I think that Phenom just came up short. What? Oh.
By afternoon, the data recorders, the so-called black box, had been recovered. Pilots reported seeing birds in this area right before the crash. The NTSB says it's too early to know if a bird strike or something else actually caused this tragic crash.
dispatched to the area, and both the National Transportation Safety Board and state police are investigating the incident. Homicide detectives have reportedly been sent to the scene.
And a third person has yet to be identified after a deadly mid-air collision over McKinney.
2 people dead tonight after a plane crashed in northwest Fresno this afternoon. It happened around 1:30 near Sierra Sky Park Airport. That's an airport near the outskirts of town, not far from the San Joaquin River. Our sister station, KFSN, says that plane was an Express S-90 experimental, and it crashed in a pond just north of that airport. The victims have not yet been identified. It's also not clear what caused that crash.
I used to work for Acton. Acton boats. Suraj Baba, it won't be shaky now. See, I love aeroplanes. Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay.
Should have bought that ice pop.
Whoa! It crashed or what? Oh, it's crashed.
A father's last words to his daughter before his entire home was engulfed. Domingo Galicia said he heard when the small plane crashed into his 21-year-old daughter's room. He says he heard the noise from the plane. It was fast. His daughter, Banny Galicia, was sleeping in her room. When he tried to call out to her, all he saw was smoke, and she never made it out.
back to our big story today. A plane plummeting to the ground. You see here behind me, crashing into this house in Gilbert. Investigators on scene right now, still working to figure out what exactly happened. Now, you can see from this video, all of it there, all that damage. The house also has a lot of damage. We know that something went wrong in the sky. A huge ball of flames people could see falling down there. 5 people on board, a pilot and 4 skydivers, all thankfully making it out alive. The pilot was taken to the hospital with burns. This happening near Ray and Gilbert Roads. Now that's where we find ABC 15's Mary Ellen Resendez this morning. Mary Ellen, the sun is about to come up. We know investigators are going to be out there trying to see what exactly happened. What are you finding out from your sources on scene?
Well, right now we have Gilbert police that are on scene, basically just guarding the house, making sure that nobody goes through, because obviously it's not safe at this point. We can see a huge hole in the back of the roof. We're waiting for daylight so we can kind of give viewers a closer look at the aftermath. And of course, we'll have that within the hour. Now, the FAA and the NTSB are both expected to be on site today investigating this crash. The home, a total loss. The 2 people inside the home at the time were not injured, and that is just amazing. Supposedly they were in the front part of the house, and even as we look at the front part of the house, there's a lot of damage. The pilot ejected, landed in a field about a half mile from this Gilbert home. He was the only one injured. He did suffer some burn injuries, and we're told he's at a burn unit this morning. We do not have an exact condition on him just yet. Now, the 4 other skydivers also ejected. They happen to have come down pretty safely, which is just amazing that they were able to land without any incident. Neighbors say they were just shocked and, of course, very scared as they saw that ball of flames come down from the sky.
It looked like a plane went up in smoke and up in flames, and we just saw it falling, and then just kind of dropped, and then we saw all the skydivers, or that's what we heard anyway, drop with it. So
I looked over and I saw just a ball of flame, just like it was going straight, and then it went straight down, and it's just like we were just chilling on our back porch, and we saw it. We were like, "What is going on?"
A small plane crashed into a Colorado home Monday, setting the aircraft and home on fire. The single-engine plane was trailing an advertising banner before crashing into the 2-story house in North Glen. That's just 12 miles north of Denver. The pilot survived, and no one was home at the time of the crash. Authorities say the pilot dropped from the cockpit and called 911. He was able to walk away with no injuries. A Denver TV station, KUSA, reported that fire crews were seen rescuing a dog from the home's garage. A witness said the pilot struggled to keep the Geico insurance banner in the air and crashed after making a U-turn. Neighbors said they heard what they believed was a lawnmower and then an explosion sound.
In Pompano Beach, the aircraft clipping a home and damaging others before bursting into flames. 3 people on board were rushed to the hospital.
And amazingly, no one on the ground was hurt. This happened in a neighborhood not far from the Pompano Beach Air Park, and that's where our team coverage begins with Local 10's Carlos Suarez live.
Calvin and Janine, the home that plane crashed into sits empty and dark tonight. Several of its windows have been blown out, and just beyond the roof back there in the backyard of this house is where that plane came to a crashing stop and where neighbors came to the rescue of everyone on board. Cell phone video captured the fiery scene. It's seconds after the crash, and the twin-engine plane is on fire. Amid the sirens and smoke, you can hear neighbors looking after one another. Be careful, be careful. Armed with nothing but a garden hose, the group tries to keep the fire from spreading.
Me and my next-door neighbor ran over, kicked the fence in, and then we saw the co-pilot and the pilot standing there, so we grabbed them and drug them to the street. They were badly burned.
How's that fence over there? That fence come out? At one point in the video, you can almost follow the path of the plane that crashed into a home just east of Pompano Beach Air Park. The plane, it appears, stalled on takeoff.
Totally engulfed house here. They went into the roof of this house. You got two houses engulfed.
The plane is registered to Florida Aviation Academy, and national safety investigators say the pilot was practicing landings and takeoffs. Our cameras found debris scattered across 3 homes, including a yard where the engine was found.
I heard a loud boom that rattled the windows of the house, and the dog started barking.
Neighbors were at a loss for words when, through the smoke and fire, they saw the 3 people on board walking away from the crash. The plane is registered to Florida Aviation Academy, and national safety investigators say the pilot was practicing landings and takeoffs. A team of national safety investigators is expected at the scene at the earliest tomorrow to get a look at the damaged plane in hopes of trying to figure out exactly what happened shortly after takeoff.
Fatal plane crash near the Half Moon Bay Airport.
Yeah, single-engine Cessna 172 crashed into a home on Park Avenue in Moss Beach around 11:20 this morning.
Larry, take a look at this plane that has crashed into this house. A really scary scene here. You may be able to make out those FAA investigators that have now arrived on the scene. One person on this plane was killed. Another, we are told, was airlifted to a hospital. And luckily, the people that live at that house were not inside at the time. Witnesses say the single-engine Cessna 172 appeared to be flying low.
We were both looking, we're like, oh my God, this is going to crash. And shortly after that, it went straight behind the trees. What we did was pull over, call 911.
The plane crashed into a home on Park Avenue in the Moss Beach area.
We do not know the roles of the people that were injured, and we don't know what caused the crash.
The San Mateo County Sheriff's Office says it is securing the scene for FAA investigators.
You want things to go right when you're in an airplane, for sure.
NTSB says it is also investigating the crash. In Half Moon Bay, Melanie Woodrow, ABC 7 News.
Channel 5 starts now.
Just like came out of the sky.
I wasn't looking up at the sky, and it just went down. It crashed.
I thought I heard a plane go down, and I could see an explosion, I could see fire.
New images tonight of the charred crash scene.
It actually clipped telephone wires or electrical wires to begin with.
After a plane goes down in the middle of an Akron neighborhood.
Then a house, and then an embankment.
When it hit, it was immediately engulfed in flames and smoke.
This huge black smoke. There are no survivors in the plane.
Sources confirmed there were 9 people on that plane when it crashed. All 9 are dead.
Well, I just was in shock, and I was crying and upset.
Cole Leeds, it's a very active scene right now. It's actually a crime scene. You can see the yellow parade, the police tape here. Investigators will not remove the plane today. Instead, highly trained teams will do that when they arrive, working around the clock in a very methodical recovery process. Investigators are holding the scene overnight, which needs to be gone over thoroughly.
This is a very complex situation, and it needs to be done very carefully, and everything needs to be documented well, which is one of the reasons that we're going to wait until morning light to be able to do this, to make sure we get the best possible information.
And once the sun comes up, the Summit County Medical Examiner's Office will bring in its own team of specialists.
We do, at the Medical Examiner's Office, have a mass fatality plan that we will be instituting here, and that's a part of our plan, so we'll be going forward with those plans.
And so will the feds. The FAA has 2 investigators here right now, 2 more on the way. Plus, a team from the NTSB is expected to arrive shortly.
This is breaking news from CBS 13.
We're following breaking news tonight out of South Lake Tahoe. A small plane crashes into a home, stunning residents and nearby neighbors.
Someone said they heard a big bang. Several people said that they heard loud bangs, but didn't know what it was. Whoever was in the plane, there's no way that they walked away from it.
Tonight, I'm Adrienne Moore. It happened around 5:45 at Tianata Street, a residential area off of Highway 50 across from the Lake Tahoe Golf Course.
We've got team coverage on this crash this evening. Ian Schwartz will join us from the Weather Center with the conditions around when this plane went down. But first, we start with CBS 13's Lamore Abrams live from the scene. Lamore.
Adrian, it still smells of flame and fuel out here, but behind the yellow tape, we can only see a small portion of the plane. You can see that white thing there is the plane's tail, and some pieces scattered in front of this home. This is where the plane crashed earlier today. Investigators say a small Beach Bonanza airplane carrying 2 pilots crashed after takeoff. Wendy Mars tells us her heart breaks for her small community. She says the homeowners were out for the day, but arrived to see their house on fire. Again, the flames contained to this area of this home, and
New details tonight about the plane that crashed into 2 mobile homes in Anne Arundel County. Good evening, I'm Jim Hadley, in for Jim Vance.
And I'm Doreen Gensler. The aircraft took off about 10 o'clock this morning from Suburban Airport in Laurel. It went down soon after that in Maryland City.
There is the plane, and the pilot's wife tells me that she's grateful that the family with children that lives inside that mobile home was not home at the time, and that her husband survived the crash. Take a look at the cockpit right over there. She says that the plane's engine shut off shortly after takeoff. Witnesses said the plane was flying too low, clipped a tree, and crashed in the mobile home park. Carl Kesselring, Suburban Air Parks administrator, spoke only to News 4 and told me Dixon has more than 30 years of flying experience.
He's a very good friend of mine. I've known him for quite a few years. He's an excellent pilot.